The first thing I did to be reborn was run to the zoo, grab a male tiger, and start sucking on its, you know what. The next second, I was actually reborn as a newborn tiger cub. Since it was my first time being a tiger, I wasn't used to my own body, which led my tiger mom to think I was born with a disability. She wanted to eat me. However, as a first-time mother, her motherly love ultimately triumphed over instinct. Just as I started getting noticed by more and more people, a peculiar power began to brew inside me. At that moment, my tiger mom looked at her silly son, filled with a sense of helplessness. So she reached out with her paws and pulled me into her embrace. My sister was already looking around for milk, while I just lay there on the ground in a daze. Her maternal instinct made my tiger mom feel that it was necessary to give this silly son some extra care. As I was forcefully pulled into her embrace, I seemed to catch a sweet scent. The next second, I realized this was probably the smell of tiger milk. Just then, with another roar, my tiger mom gave birth to another cub. 2 weeks went by in a flash. By now, my human body had long since been cremated, and my tiger mom hadn't eaten in a week. She hadn't eaten for so long that she didn't have enough milk anymore. After my tiger mom left, I wobbled my way out of the den. Seeing the sunlight again, I was in an especially good mood. However, I didn't notice that in the woods not far away, an infrared camera was recording me at the entrance of the den. Meanwhile, in the monitoring room of a ranger station at the Changbai Mountain Wildlife Sanctuary, a conservation officer's eyes widened. Quick, the records are wrong. Jinghong had 3 cubs this time, not 2. Zhou Wentong, who rushed over, had a shocked look on his face. How is this one so big? Are you sure it's from Jinghong's litter? In no time, all the staff at the station had gathered around. Why is this little guy sitting there like a statue? I've never seen such a quiet little tiger. Why isn't he moving? Yu Fei laughed and joked playfully. You all don't get it. He's contemplating the meaning of a tiger's life. But soon, Zhou Wentong's brow furrowed. With 3 cubs, Jinghong is under too much pressure. A mother tiger in the wild would probably struggle to raise this many, Yu Fei said reassuringly. Jinghong is the best hunter among all the tigresses. She should be fine. If she really can't handle it, we can figure out a way to intervene. Meanwhile, Yu Fei, who also managed the station's social media account, posted a picture of me sitting in my enlightened pose online. Just 7 or 8 hours later, this short, 10-second video had already gotten over 100,000 likes. 2 weeks later, my tiger mom went out hunting again, leaving the 3 little cubs at home. Soon after, in the monitoring room, one of the station staff cried out, "Quick, look at the screen." On the monitor, a lone wolf covered in scars appeared. It was heading for the tiger's den. These 3 cubs, just over a month old, stood absolutely no chance of surviving the claws of a 30-kilogram-old alpha wolf. Just then, the old wolf stopped in his tracks. He saw something behind the rock. That chubby little tiger. And this little tiger looked really clueless. He was just sitting quietly at the entrance of the cave, enjoying the sunlight. Meanwhile, I was taking in the sense of the outside world when suddenly I caught a thick whiff of blood. Along with the stench of a wild beast, I snapped my eyes open and looked toward the source of the smell. The sight made my eyes fly wide open. A flash of terror crossed my face. But for an experienced old wolf king, the moment he decided to hunt this tiger cub, he charged. Watching the old wolf rush toward me, my mind went completely blank. I instinctively dodged the old wolf's sharp teeth, and though I avoided them, he missed my neck, but his bite landed squarely on my back. I struggled and swiped a paw at the old wolf, trying to push it off. However, my young claws posed no threat. The old wolf bit down hard and refused to let go, thrashing its head to tear the wound even wider. Luckily, I had been eating well these past few days and had put on some weight. Otherwise, that wolf could have snapped my spine in one bite. It would have been certain death. This made the people at the protection station look grave. Chen Du cursed under his breath, grabbing a hunting rifle and getting ready to go out, while Yu Fei mumbled with a look of despair. Slumping into a chair, unable to watch, the intense, sudden pain actually cleared my head a little. I saw the caked blood on the old wolf's body, and couldn't help but recall the old proverb, a head of copper, a tail of iron, but a belly of tofu. This wolf was injured, and right there on its abdomen. So I endured the excruciating pain and repeatedly struck at the old wolf's wound, extending my claws, trying to hook onto the torn spot in its fur. The wolf's wound, which had already clotted, was torn open again by my claws. Crying out in pain, the old wolf instinctively loosened its grip, preparing to readjust its position and bite the little tiger's fatal throat. But I seized this opportunity to run. Seeing me flee, the old wolf hesitated for a moment. Then, it walked toward the two other cubs remaining in the cave. But they were clueless and had no idea that danger was upon them. They were still playing with each other. I ran for a little while, and when I realized the old wolf wasn't chasing me, I suddenly remembered. My sister and brother were still in the den. After hesitating, my gaze grew heavy as I looked back toward the den. We're both ready to die, so who the hell is afraid of who? The moment I returned to the den, I saw the old wolf had already entered the cave. It was tearing at my sister's hind leg. Without any hesitation, I lunged and bit down on the old wolf's injured abdomen, trying to rip its belly open. The shock of pain made the old wolf let out a terrible howl. It then let go of my sister and turned to bite me. I had anticipated this, so I let go first and darted away. Then I pounced again, latching onto its exposed neck. But at just over a month old, I couldn't injure the old wolf's neck at all. After it shook me off, it lunged straight for me. Just then, I did a sudden slide, dodging the old wolf's fangs. I saw my chance, bit down hard on the old wolf, and began to tear at it frantically. The old wolf's momentum sent it tumbling to the ground. As soon as it regained its footing, it turned back to bite. But fate didn't give it another chance. After a relentless struggle, I finally broke through the old wolf's defenses, digging a claw deep into its belly. I tore out all of its insides. The old wolf let out a pained cry, but it didn't die right away. It was still trying to bite me. Seeing that the old wolf was too weak to fight back, I stood aside and watched it struggle on the ground, slowly losing its life. This whole scene was captured perfectly by the infrared camera, from when I chased it out of the den to when I disemboweled the old wolf. Stepping aside to quietly wait for the old wolf to die, this whole scene left all the staff at the reserve speechless. Just moments before, they were worried when they saw me run back. After all, in their eyes, I was just a little tiger cub, obviously incapable of human concepts like compassion and morality, or understanding the bonds of family. Besides, unless the mother tiger returned, the fate of 3 little cubs facing an old wolf alone was practically sealed. Losing one would have been considered damage control. But I, of all cubs, came back. And miraculously, I killed the old wolf by disemboweling it. In the monitoring room, everyone couldn't believe what they were seeing. The little tiger cub, just over a month old, had clearly gotten away. Yet it chose to turn back, as if it truly understood the bonds of family. What was even more incredible was that, despite a 5-fold size difference, it managed to turn the tables and kill an old wolf. After a long silence, Zhou Wentong slowly spoke, sighing with emotion. It seems we've still underestimated the wild instincts of a Siberian tiger. In a zoo, a cub this age would still be wobbly on its feet. Even a big goose could bully it easily. Meanwhile, outside the den, I watched until the old wolf was completely still. Then, I turned my gaze to that gory pile of innards, a complex look in my young eyes. They shimmered with a hint of humanity and deep thought. The appearance of the old wolf made me truly realize that I live in a world where only the strong survive. I have to become stronger if I want to live in peace. As a predator, foundation for growth is a full belly. The flesh and blood of other animals will be my main source of food from now on. This also determines a crucial factor in how big I'll be able to grow. After a moment of hesitation flickered in my eyes, I walked towards that pile of flesh and blood, picked up the old wolf's heart, and began to chew. When my mother returned and saw the dead wolf outside the den, she instantly understood what had happened. She rushed back into the den, licking us cubs over and over. My sister's hind leg had been bitten by the wolf. She was walking with a limp. As for me, the cub my mother was especially doting on, my back was also injured. My mother, full of concern, licked me for half the night. Although I found it a bit much, I couldn't refuse this rather slobbery motherly love. On top of that, eating meat at an age when I shouldn't have gave me diarrhea. After all, in my past life, I was just a handsome, 18-year-old college guy. And as everyone knows, college students are at that perfectly innocent and clueless age. After my mother finished comforting all of his cubs, she viciously tore the old wolf to pieces and devoured it. That night, the official account for the Chongbai Mountain Reserve posted another animal video. Since the infrared camera didn't capture the fight that took place inside the den, It raised a lot of questions from viewers online. They found it really hard to believe that such a fierce animal could actually overcome a 5-fold size difference to kill the old wolf. As the video spread, model. At 1930, more and more viewers were indeed moved by my decisive return. And by the determined figure that flashed past the camera. But at this moment, I obviously had no idea that at just 1 month old, I had become a celebrity cub admired by everyone online. Because for this past month, after a terrible bout of diarrhea, all of these people could be called my fans. I understood that I wasn't ready to eat meat yet, so I chugged a whole bellyful of tiger milk until I was round and full. Generally speaking, Mother Tiger wouldn't feed her cubs too full. After all, she has 3 children, which is a huge burden for a wild tigress. Even I felt that Mother Tiger was being a bit biased. She made me feel doted on by a tiger. For the period that followed, Mother Tiger would only go hunting about once every 5 or 6 days. As for me, besides eating and sleeping, I added an extra activity: exercise. Tiger cubs practice their hunting skills by playing with their siblings. After I tried it a few times, I decided to give up on this method of torturing my sister and brother. My natural advantages, plus Mother Tiger's spoiling, made my body a whole size bigger than my sister's and brother's. Just then, I had just appeared at the cave entrance. The little tiger's sighing expression was perfectly captured by the infrared camera. In the monitoring room of the conservation station, Yu Fei immediately leaned towards the screen, a smile on his face. Show the philosopher is just too cute. It makes me want to kidnap him and take him home. Yu Fei's mumbling to himself. Startled Chen Du, who was passing by the door. Hey, don't you do anything foolish. These are go to jail for life animals. You can't touch a single one of them. I'm not actually going to snatch him. I'm just saying, you should be careful what you say. Got it, Master Chen Du. Alright, watch the screen properly and stop fooling around. Arriving at the cave entrance, I started thinking about how I should exercise. Although I can't copy human exercise methods directly, I can use human thinking to figure it out. As a tiger, what abilities do I need to train? It's nothing more than speed, stamina, strength, and size. In terms of size, all I can do is eat as much as possible. As for speed, perhaps I can try some planned running training. For strength, I can imitate martial artists and strike tree trunks to train my paw strength. There's also climbing trees, jumping, swimming, and diving. These are all things that a tiger is naturally good at. With regular practice, I should be able to enhance these abilities. I quickly formulated an exercise plan for myself. First, through running, jumping, and striking tree trunks, these three methods would train my speed, stamina, and paw strength. An adult tiger can reach a top speed of 90 kilometers per hour, but its stamina isn't very good. They usually rely on ambushes and sudden bursts of speed to chase and kill their prey. After running 4 laps around the large rock outside the cave, I flopped down in the open area of the cave. Panting heavily, after resting for a while, I felt a surge of strength, gradually welling up from every part of my body, allowing me to quickly recover my energy. Could this be the insane recovery ability of a tiger? If I were human, I probably wouldn't be able to get up for half a day. But now, after just resting for a dozen or so minutes, I feel like I'm full of life and ready to go again. However, I didn't know that with such an insane recovery ability. Being a tiger probably only accounted for 1/3 of it. The other 2/3 was the power of faith. The affection from researchers like Yu Fei and my fans provided me with a small amount of faith power. And this power of faith is extremely weak. Any other tiger would never be able to sense it. It doesn't have much of an effect either. But because I have a human soul, and I'm trying to awaken my potential through exercise, this faint power of faith has been activated. If they were like the ancients and called tigers mountain lords, worshipping them as mountain gods with adoration and reverence, or even enshrined them as actual deities, that kind of belief would be much more profound. The power of faith would be far more abundant. However, no one knew, and no one noticed. Humanity, in a different way, had rekindled its faith in the mountain god, and this little tiger cub truly had the potential to become a mountain god. I kept practicing until evening. Mama Tiger had already returned from her hunt. After feeding the other 2 cubs, she looked strangely at this oddball son of hers, making all those weird movements. For the next while, I only did 3 things every day: eat, sleep, and exercise. and wander in front of the camera for a bit. Time flew by in a flash. I've been a tiger for over 2 months now. After more than a month of training, I'm a whole size bigger than my sister and brother, and my weight has reached 14 kilograms. That's almost the weight of a normal cub at over 3 months old. One day, Mama Tiger called her 3 cubs with a low chuff. She was getting ready to take all her little ones and leave the den they had lived in for over 2 months. To stay by her cubs' side, she hadn't marked her territory for a long time. Now that the cubs were over 2 months old, Mama Tiger was preparing to take them to get acquainted with her territory. She needed to remark her scent to prevent other tigers from intruding, poaching her prey, or even killing her cubs. At that moment, Mama Tiger brought her 3 cubs to the side of a clear little stream. She let out a couple of soft chuffs, calling her children over. In May, Changbai Mountain had already thawed, and the clear stream rushed toward the distance. Having just encountered water for the first time, my sister and brother seemed to unleash their wild instincts, and started frolicking and playing in the stream. I watched my 2 siblings and sighed, shaking my head. They don't understand anything. They're just beasts following their instincts. Not far away, Mama Tiger looked at me and, for the first time ever, let out a sigh of her own. Although her intelligence wasn't very high when it came to this unusual child, she had worried herself sick. So, she lifted a paw and gave me a push. Even though I already had the body of a 3-month-old cub, Mama Tiger still easily pushed me, and I tumbled right into the stream. The journey was full of stops and starts, but the 3 cubs soon followed Mama Tiger downstream to where a crystal clear lake lay in the distance. The wetlands were lush with green grass and dotted with nameless blooming flowers. It was a scene straight out of a paradise. The little cubs, still playing in the stream, hadn't noticed at all that Mama Tiger's figure had disappeared. Just a moment ago, Mama Tiger had spotted a herd of red deer in the woods. They were one of her main food sources. So, Mama Tiger concealed her body, stalking closer to the herd. She began today's hunt. However, just as Mama Tiger was stalking closer to the deer, chasing them farther and farther away, a massive adult male tiger appeared. He strolled leisurely, appearing at the edge of the forest where it meets the wetland. To induce a tigress into estrus and gain mating rights, male tigers will often kill the cubs that are with her. For a little tiger cub, the danger of encountering an adult male tiger in the forest is no less than meeting a brown bear. They would kill a defenseless little cub without hesitation. Just then, I was carrying a freshly caught fish ashore, ready to taste this gudgeon. As I looked up, I accidentally met a pair of intimidating yellow eyes. The adult male tiger before me was enormous. His head alone was bigger than my entire body. A sudden shock made me drop the fish from my mouth onto the ground. Just when I thought I was about to be devoured by a stranger, the male tiger just sniffed my forehead, making a greeting sound through his nose. For young, non-adult cubs, all male tigers are dangerous, except for their own father. However, male tigers don't take on the responsibility of raising cubs. Generally speaking, a male tiger's territory will overlap with a tigress's. During the time she is raising her cubs, the male tiger will patrol the perimeter of her territory to prevent other tigers from entering. At this point, I snapped back to my senses. The huge male tiger in front of me didn't seem to have any hostility towards me. After his greeting, this male tiger ignored the 3 cubs and walked towards the nearby lake. He was heading to this lake to play in the water. At this moment, my sister and brother were both hiding fearfully in the woods, completely terrified of that huge adult male tiger. Noticing the movement behind him, the male tiger glanced back. As a male tiger, he had no interest in babysitting and wouldn't proactively provide food for the cubs. Seeing the male tiger just flick his tail, I completely relaxed. It seems I wasn't wrong. This giant male tiger is the legendary irresponsible dad. I have no idea where mom ran off to. Sticking with dad should be quite safe. Plus, I was kind of hoping dad was here to hunt. That way, I could get a good look at how an adult tiger hunts. However, dad wasn't here to hunt. He took a huge dive straight into the lake. With just a few strokes of his paws, he reached the center of the lake. Only his head was visible above the water. Seeing dad's cool and dashing look made me a little tempted. So, I followed with a splash and jumped into the water. As soon as I hit the water, I subconsciously tried to control my limbs with my human consciousness to swim. But the human way was clearly not suitable for me now. Dad looked at me with a strange expression. As a tiger, swimming is an innate skill. How could this little cub, so strong and healthy, not even know how to swim? So he paddled over gently and scooped me up with his paw as I was bobbing up and down. Being lifted out of the water cleared my head a bit. I realized it was my human consciousness interfering, disrupting my tiger's natural swimming instinct. So I stopped consciously trying to control my limbs and just started flailing around. Before long, my body seemed to find that part of its tiger instinct. I quickly swam off of Dad's paw. After swimming for a bit, I didn't feel tired at all, as if I was joyfully using an effortless, newly awakened instinct. I took a big dive into the water. Given my terrible performance just now, the moment I sank underwater, Dad thought I was in danger. So he dived in too. I watched as the enormous tiger swam towards me, and for a moment, I was in awe. His massive size didn't make him look clumsy underwater at all. He was as agile as a fish that was born to live in the water. In the blink of an eye, Dad went from being 7 or 8 meters away to swimming right beside me, opening his mouth and grabbing me. Then he swam to the bank and dropped me on the shore. I really wanted to tell Dad that I already knew how to swim. But obviously, tigers can't communicate in such a complex way. Seeing me walk towards the lake again, Dad let out a roar. But Dad's piercing roar traveled far, scaring away the wild ducks and little birds in the distant wetland. A few little rabbits hiding in the weeds were so frightened they froze on the spot. Just then, another familiar tiger's roar came from the forest. It was Mom, back from hunting with her prey, calling for her children. The cubs were already 2 months old, and Mom decided it was time for them to start trying some meat. Over the next few months, this would gradually become their main source of food. She stood by a large tree on the border between the forest and the wetland, watching me by the lake and the male tiger in it from a distance. A mother tiger with cubs is hostile towards all other tigers. Even though this male tiger was the cub's father, she didn't approach to greet him. Instead, she stood from afar and let out a low, warning growl, telling him to stay away from the cubs. Dad glanced back at her and chirped in response. Then, getting the hint, he got out on the other side of the lake and soon disappeared into the dense forest. Although I had a brief encounter with my tiger father, as a human, I knew very well that it's the mother tiger who would raise and protect us with all her heart. It's very rare for male tigers to raise cubs. It usually only happens if the mother dies. Just like in the human world, when there's no danger around a dad who's babysitting. The dad is the danger. After eating and drinking my fill, Mom would lie down anywhere in the forest, her 4 paws in the air. She looked lazy and defenseless, but if she heard her children's cries for help, she would definitely arrive at the scene in an instant. And at this moment, I was in the woods, practicing my tree climbing skills. Just then, my predator's sense of danger suddenly kicked in. It was a small wild boar, about 30 kilograms. I had scared it when I dropped down from the tree. The moment our eyes met, it charged. Besides, there's a saying, first the boar, second the bear, third the tiger. This is a ranking made by humans of the 3 beasts most dangerous to them, with the wild boar ranked number 1. Even though it was just a small wild boar of 30 kilograms. A sudden, powerful charge like that could send a human flying. For a 2-month-old tiger cub, getting hit by it would definitely be fatal. However, instead of feeling any sense of danger, this actually made me a little excited. When the little boar charged, I had just jumped down from the tree trunk and hadn't even found my footing yet. But using my powerful core strength, I suddenly twisted my body and leapt. I landed 2 meters away, and the little wild boar's charge missed. It rushed a long way before it could stop, then turned around and charged at me again. Seeing the little wild boar charge again, I slapped it right on its forehead. The little wild boar was knocked to the ground by the slap, even skidding a short distance. But that single slap didn't cause any fatal damage. It did a flip and got right back up. It charged at me again. I leapt up and landed in front of a big tree. Seeing the little boar charge once more, I stood perfectly still until it was close. Only then did I calmly make a sudden leap to the side to dodge it. The little wild boar let out another miserable squeal. This time, it slammed right into the tree trunk. The pain from that was even worse than when I'd slapped it away. While the little boar was dazed from the impact, I pounced on it and pinned it down. I latched onto the little wild boar's throat, trying to suffocate it to death. Although I have a human's consciousness and knowledge, and have gone through some beneficial training, which has made me much stronger than an ordinary 2-month-old tiger cub, There's still a gap between theory and practice. This bite didn't precisely hit the vital spot on its windpipe. Even so, it still caused the little wild boar immense pain. Squeals like a stuck pig echoed through the forest. The little wild boar struggled to its feet, with me still biting onto it, thrashing around wildly. Just then, hearing the little boar's miserable squeals, a huge black shadow charged out from behind a few trees at incredible speed. Seeing this, I let go of the little boar, using the force of its struggle to resist. I was thrown back some distance, which also helped me dodge the huge black shadow's attack. Damn, what a sore loser, huh? Calling for backup when you can't win? It was a mother sow of over 300 jin, with long, nasty tusks. Its pig face looked ferocious. Seeing this, I didn't hesitate. With a swoosh, I scrambled up a nearby tree. Who says climbing trees is useless? I mean, really, see? It's coming in handy right now, isn't it? Seeing me escape up the tree, the mother sow started ramming it furiously. It even made the whole tree shake. I quickly extended my sharp claws and dug into the trunk. Then, I started wailing at the top of my lungs. My voice has a strong, penetrating quality. That damn little wild boar. Calling for backup when you can't win. You have no honor at all. You think you're the only one who can call for help? My tiger mom, who had been resting on her back in the tall grass, immediately heard the wails from a distance. It was her beloved second son. So, she flipped over and started running through the forest. In the blink of an eye, Tiger Mom burst out of the tall grass. With a single pounce, she pinned the mother sow next to the tree to the ground, letting out a deep, furious roar for her son. He has the makings of a great emperor. Don't you dare harm my son. The pinned mother boar struggled with all her might. Her neck was already stained red with tomato juice, but it was still ferocious, trying to shake off Tiger Mom and gore her with its tusks. Tiger Mom was calm and composed. She didn't let go of the boar. Instead, she fell onto her back, using her own weight to drag the boar into a stumble. Then, she placed her front paws on the boar's shoulders to pin it down, while her hind legs, thanks to her position on the ground, kicked powerfully at the boar's belly. I clung to the tree. Looking back at this scene, my eyes filled with awe. This was a true battle between beasts, and the wild boar's strength was immense. It dragged Tiger Mom as it struggled, trying to charge away. Tiger Mom first let it go, then caught up to the boar in 2 sudden leaps and slapped it hard on the back. It pushed off with its hind legs and leapt on top, pinning the wild boar down while it opened its mouth and bit into the back of its neck. The wild boar was tackled to the ground. Even more blood-curdling squeals echoed through the forest, from the moment Mother Tiger charged into battle until she killed the old sow. It only took about 5 minutes. After that grueling fight, I was a little tired too. I trotted after Mother Tiger back to the clearing by the stream. After staying for about a week, Mother Tiger took his cubs to get familiar with our territory. The farthest we ever went was to a place about 20-something kilometers away. As we traveled, I spotted some more infrared cameras in the forest. Those cameras must have recorded us as we passed by. At the conservation station, Yu Fei sighed as he watched the multiple monitor screens. Ever since Mother Tiger left the den with her cubs a week ago, the infrared cameras hadn't captured any sign of those cubs. Suddenly, Yu Fei's eyes lit up. He got up and leaned closer to the screen. First, Mother Tiger flashed past the lens. She was followed by 2 little tigers, chasing and playing on camera as they headed in her direction. Bringing up the rear was a cub. That was a whole size bigger than the other 2 cubs. It was me. Seeing that figure on the screen, Yu Fei exclaimed out loud, "My God, did Philosopher have some kind of genetic mutation? We haven't seen him for a week and he's grown so much. He's bigger than a regular 3-month-old tiger." Zhou Wentong heard the commotion and rushed over, staring at the screen with excitement. The largest Siberian tiger ever recorded in writing was during the Soviet era. A Siberian tiger captured from the wild by the Soviets, weighing 384 kilograms. Mother Tiger traveled in fits and starts. Even if she hadn't eaten, she would still stop every so often to nurse us little cubs. Now that I can eat 10 jin of meat, I'm an absolute monster when it comes to nursing. Normally, after a big meal, Mother Tiger could go a week or 2 without eating. But now, she has to eat every 4 or 5 days, otherwise she won't have any milk to feed her children. One evening, Mother Tiger led us little cubs to a patch of forest to rest. I took the opportunity to run off nearby, trying to catch some small prey. However, I suddenly found myself stopping in my tracks. Stared in bewilderment at the scene that appeared before me. A road. This was undoubtedly a creation of human society, and it was on human turf. Although Siberian tigers are a protected species, if one were to eat a person, it would be eliminated. Just as I was feeling a bit worried, a dog's bark echoed. A German shepherd that must have weighed 50 or 60 jin came charging at me, barking furiously. Obviously, this big dog had never seen a tiger before, and it certainly didn't take this little tiger seriously. Over the past half a month, I had grown from about 14 kilograms to 18 kilograms, which is less than 40 jin. In terms of size, I was a bit smaller than the German shepherd, but I wasn't the least bit intimidated by the canine. The moment the German shepherd charged, I swatted it right across its face. I knocked its head clean to the side. The German shepherd rolled on the ground twice. It whimpered from its throat, none of its earlier ferocity remaining. Clearly, it still hadn't quite registered what it had just encountered. But I wasn't finished. The moment the German shepherd stopped rolling, I pounced on it, pinning it down, and without a moment's hesitation, bit into the back of its neck. But with immense pressure, my cute little baby teeth snapped its spine. In just a few seconds, the German shepherd that had been aggressively barking at me soon stopped moving altogether. The villager who was originally walking the German shepherd on the road was wondering why his dog had suddenly run off. He followed and saw the whole thing, freezing in terror and raising his hands. Mountain God, I'm a local. I glanced at him and carried his dog away. He was instantly stunned by my identity as a tiger cub. He hadn't even noticed that this was a little tiger. Back beside Tiger Mom, I still felt a little worried. In my previous life, there was a Siberian tiger that also wandered into a human village and was forcibly sent to a zoo. It got free room and board, but if it had killed someone, the outcome would have been very different. However, as wild animals, it's impossible for tigers to have such a complex conversation. There was no way Tiger Mom could understand what I was thinking. So, I decided to go scout the path ahead. I needed to see how far we were from the village and try to find a way to keep Tiger Mom away from humans. As night gradually fell, the road grew quiet. It seemed this place was far from the city. The other side of the road was also just forest, with no signs of human settlement. That's easy to determine at night. Human villages have lights. It looked like this was just a highway cutting through the forest, disrupting what was originally Tiger Mom's territory. There was no village across the road, which let me breathe a small sigh of relief. But still, I had run into a human today. Just as I was leisurely strolling down the road, a beam of light suddenly appeared behind me. It startled me. Turns out, it was a car. Perhaps I was getting used to being a tiger, becoming a little arrogant. I was swaggering right down the middle of the road, blocking the car's way. The man driving was speechless. He honked the horn again. But the woman in the passenger seat, her eyes were sparkling. She covered her mouth in excitement. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. So clean, with a little pink nose. Its little paws are so chubby. I really want to pet it. The man looked exasperated. He reminded her irritably, who cares if it's cute? If we're any later, you won't get to see your mom one last time. Just then, the woman unlocked her door. Seeing her open the door, the man was startled and quickly asked, "What are you doing?" The woman replied with an innocent smile, "I'm just gonna get out and move it. And maybe give it a little pet." The man quickly grabbed her by the arm. "The mother tiger has to be somewhere around here. And you want to get out of the car? That's a death wish." But at that moment, the woman had already opened the door and was halfway out of the car. She didn't notice a pair of eerie green eyes watching them silently from the weeds at the edge of the forest. Suddenly, Tiger Mom leapt out of the woods and onto the road. A tiger's roar echoed out, traveling for miles around. The moment they heard that roar, the two of them froze, practically paralyzed with fear. They couldn't even think about moving. Fortunately, the man snapped out of it quickly. He yanked his wife back into the car and frantically slammed the door shut. The instant the door shut, Tiger Mom slammed her paw against it. The entire car door was dented inwards. The woman was so scared she couldn't move a muscle. Her eyes were wide open, and it took her a long time to snap out of it. The man quickly turned the steering wheel. He did a U-turn and sped back the way they came. When my mother pounced, I quickly got up from the ground and ran to her side of the road. My mother chased them for a couple of steps, then stopped and walked over to me. She let out a low growl, as if gently scolding me. I nuzzled my head against her strong arm. It seems I'd been away for too long. My mother realized I'd been gone for a while, so she came looking for me. The next day, Chin Dao, who'd had a terrifying escape the night before, saw the dent on the car and couldn't help but feel a lingering fear. While watching the local morning news, he lectured his wife over breakfast. He told her how dangerous her actions were last night. Just then, he heard a news report that a local bridge had collapsed the previous night. 2 cars and 3 pedestrians that were on the bridge at the time fell into the river. The accident has already resulted in 1 death and 6 injuries. Hearing the news, Chin Dao quickly looked up at the television. He asked his wife, "Which bridge?" Chao Wei answered nervously, "Sanayandong Bridge. It's about a mile ahead of where we saw that tiger yesterday." The whole thing felt so surreal to him. He was still shaken up. But as it turned out, that little tiger might have actually saved their lives. Hearing this, Chin Dao couldn't help but murmur in astonishment. No wonder the old saying goes, when an animal blocks your path, there's always a reason for it. He then put down his chopsticks, put his hands together, and chanted, "Thank you, Mountain God. Thank you, Mountain God, for protecting us. Too bad I can't tell them, but even if I could, I'd have to say, you're welcome, but I wasn't trying to save you. I just couldn't stand the sight of you." Then Chin Dao sighed again. "It's just that with this delay, I'm afraid your mom sighed." Just as he was speaking, Chao Wei's phone suddenly rang. Chao Wei took out her phone and quickly answered it. She started explaining with a sense of urgency and helplessness. Then, the person on the other end said something. She looked very surprised and stopped her explanation. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Hearing what Chao Wei was saying, Chin Dao was also stunned for a long moment. Then, with a pious look, he put his hands together and said, "Xiao Wei, I heard that in that old mountain village in your hometown, there's a mountain god temple, right? We have to go and give thanks. To thank the mountain god for saving our family." After Chao Wei hung up, she nodded in agreement. "Tomorrow, we'll buy some high-quality incense and a few strings of firecrackers. We must thank the mountain god for his great kindness." Meanwhile, I was following my mother through the forest when we discovered a herd of sika deer. My mother lowered her body, stalking them quietly. She inched closer to the herd. My mother is very patient. She's a seasoned hunter, but my brothers aren't nearly as patient. They're just playful, energetic cubs. Before our mother could pounce, their roughhousing startled the herd. The deer instantly panicked and fled. My mother shot her 2 cubs a look of disapproval, forced to abandon the ambush. But my mother wasn't worried. Now that she'd found this herd, she wasn't going to give up so easily. She would continue to track them. While I waited for the next hunting opportunity, I continued to travel with Mother Tiger. I had no idea that I had already been revered as a mountain god by 2 humans. And at that moment, this so-called mountain god was still intently focused on learning and thinking about how to hunt for meat. At night, as Mother Tiger led us cubs onward, she suddenly stopped. To us little cubs, she let out a couple of roars and then left in a certain direction. I pretty much understood. Mother Tiger thought we were slowing her down. She was going to leave us here for a while and go hunt by herself. My tiger sister and brother were tired from playing and gradually quieted down, snuggling up to sleep under a big tree. The 2 little ones had absolutely no sense of danger. They were still too young. Other than that one time with the old wolf, they hadn't experienced any real danger. And as kings of the forest, their tiger genes hadn't passed down that kind of survival instinct. But as a human, I felt a little uneasy. For humans, the forest at night is especially dangerous. The same goes for young tiger cubs. And just then, I suddenly heard a rustling sound, like some kind of reptile, slithering through the weeds and decaying leaves on the ground. It was a white-browed snake. It was flicking its tongue, sensing the smells in the air. It had clearly discovered the little tigers under the tree. Perhaps the scent of a predator like a tiger made it extremely nervous. It suddenly launched an attack on the 2 sleeping cubs. The moment the white-browed snake struck at my brother, I lifted a paw and slapped it right on the head as it tried to bite my brother. The white-browed snake failed to bite him, and was sent flying by my slap, its head hitting the ground hard. It lay motionless, as if it had been killed by that single blow. Just as I got up to walk over, the white-browed snake started moving again. It seemed it wasn't dead, just knocked unconscious for a moment. The awakened snake didn't dare to fight back. With a whoosh, it darted off into the distance. I was stunned for a second when I saw the snake move. I originally thought the snake would attack me and was on my guard. I didn't expect the coward to just take off running. It didn't get far before I pinned its tail with my paw. With its tail pinned by me, it turned around and snapped at me. I reacted quickly, lifting my paw and slapping the white-browed snake to the ground. This time, I didn't give it another chance to escape, crushing its vital spot with my claw. I easily flattened the 1-meter-long snake right at its vital spot. My stomach was a little hungry anyway, so I started eating the white-browed snake from the tail up, crunching down the bones and all. I never thought that just by taking a nap in the middle of the night, I'd get a spicy snack delivered right to my door. Thank you, Mother Nature. But when I saw where the snake's head had landed, I couldn't help but pause, my eyes narrowing. I remembered some articles I had read before. In the Changbai Mountains, the white-browed snake is known by ginseng harvesters as a guardian spirit beast. If you find an old mountain ginseng in the mountains, you need to be on high alert, because a white-browed snake is likely to be nearby. At that moment, a thoughtful glint appeared in my eyes. Humans are omnivores, so Chinese medicinal herbs like ginseng are good things for them. But I thought tigers were pure carnivores. Can this ginseng really be useful? Since I can't figure it out, I'll just stop thinking about it. What doesn't kill me only makes me stronger. So I happily trotted over. I dug out the ginseng with my tiger paw. The moment the old mountain ginseng went down, I felt my body start to react. There was a warm feeling in my stomach. Soon, that warmth spread throughout my entire body, feeling a bit like a fever. Oh no, was that ginseng poisoned? With my mind racing, I went back to the big tree where my sister and brother were sleeping. My heavy eyelids were just too much to bear, and I fell into a deep sleep. The next day, I didn't wake up until noon. Mother Tiger had already returned from her hunt. She had caught a young sika deer. She had tried to wake me more than once, but I didn't respond at all. So when I finally woke up, the first thing I saw was a giant tiger head right in front of my face. I nearly wet myself from the shock. When I woke up, I felt like the world had become a little clearer. I wasn't sure what kind of change it was, but I felt that my senses were much sharper. I don't know if it was because of the old mountain ginseng. A tiger's senses are already extremely keen. We possess a sense of smell, hearing, and night vision far superior to humans. Even our whiskers are tools for perceiving the world around us. But now, I felt like my senses were even more powerful. I could even sense a tiny bug crawling on a leaf 78 meters away. I could perceive it clearly. Maybe that old mountain ginseng was useful for me after all. However, the side effects of digesting that old mountain ginseng really made Mother Tiger worry. Luckily, it was just a minor incident. Mother Tiger continued to lead us on patrols through our territory, hunting along the way to fill our stomachs. Meanwhile, Qin Dao and Chao Wei had brought incense and candles to a mountain god temple in Chao Wei's hometown. This temple wasn't in the village. Instead, it was in the mountain forest behind it, and there was no temple keeper. There were no worshippers, and the entire temple looked dilapidated and deserted. Even the stone tiger statue enshrined inside the temple was cracked. Seeing this, Chao Wei put down the incense, candles, and offerings. She said, "We should probably grab a hoe and a machete first and clean this place up." Just yesterday afternoon, they had visited her mother in the hospital. Her mother, who had been lying motionless in bed, was now able to get out of bed and walk around after her surgery. Even the doctors called it a miracle. It must have been the mountain god. He saw that they were a pure and kind-hearted couple, and that's why he chose them as his followers with the divine scroll. If he didn't show his gratitude, divine punishment might be what came next. After thinking for a moment, Qin Dao suggested, "Why don't we fix up this mountain god temple?" Hearing this, Chao Wei's eyes widened, although she also felt they should do something to repay the mountain god's great kindness. Repairing a temple was a huge undertaking. Even a small temple like this would cost a lot of money. How much money do you have in your pocket that you dare to talk about renovating a temple? Qin Dao chuckled. "I still have 30,000 in my private stash. It might not be enough for a golden statue, but we can at least patch up this leaky roof. 30,000 should be enough. Damn it, you usually just secretly skim a little to buy a pack of cigarettes. I would just turn a blind eye to it, but you actually managed to save 30,000. So just use your secret savings to fix this house for the mountain god." The dilapidated mountain temple was renovated and looked brand new. Although the people in the village didn't understand what the couple did, they showed respect. After hearing about Chao Wei's mother's story, they all agreed it's better to believe it than not. With such a grateful heart, the mountain god will surely continue to bless them. But as a wisp of blue smoke, an offering to the deity, slowly rose from the temple's altar. At that moment, I, who was strolling through the forest with Mama Tiger, suddenly paused. In that instant, a strange feeling suddenly emerged. It seemed like my freakish perception ability could not only sense every tree in the forest and the positional relationship of every leaf, but I could even feel their moods. Even the soil beneath my paws seemed to suddenly have a life of its own, becoming like a friend to me. But when I stopped to specifically sense it, there was nothing there again. I continued strolling along with Mama Tiger. More than half a month passed, and we kept moving forward. We had already passed several highways that cut through the forest. At this moment, I couldn't help but stop by an upright stone. There were 2 characters on this stone. It said, Longguo. Mama Tiger had brought us to the border. On the other side was Russia. In my past life as a human, I had never even been abroad. In this life, as a tiger, I was about to go abroad. I was a little secretly excited. I even walked over to the boundary stone, with my tiny body, trying to push the marker a few centimeters to the other side. Mama Tiger couldn't stand it anymore. She came back and bit the scruff of my neck as a warning, trying to carry me away. Going to Russia, that area belongs to the Primorsky Krai region. For a tiger, compared to Changbai Mountain, it didn't seem much different. I quickly lost the excitement of this trip abroad, and started searching for prey in the forest. Before this, Mama Tiger hadn't eaten for 4 days. Her milk supply was severely insufficient. At this moment, I felt a bit strange. It was like an intuition was telling me where to go to find prey. And even before seeing this roe deer in front of me, I had a premonition that the prey was a roe deer. I couldn't help but feel a sense of absurdity. Do tigers have telepathic abilities like this? If so, could it have any rivals in this forest? Forget rivals, what kind of creature, after being targeted as prey, could possibly survive? For the staff at this conservation station, this day was nothing short of a disaster. All because I went on a trip. Yu Fei's worries came true when he posted the video of Mama Tiger leaving the country with her cub and uploaded it to the account. It immediately drew fierce attacks from the fans. Yu Fei, as the account operator, was almost scolded to tears by the frantic netizens, as if he'd been cyberbullied. At this time, the number of followers suddenly increased by tens of thousands. I also noticed some feedback brought by the power of belief. Just now, out of boredom, I was talking to a sunflower in front of me. Talking to myself, although it was only talking to myself in a psychological sense. After all, I can't speak human language now. But suddenly, I seemed to hear the sunflower reply. I remember there was once a psychiatrist who shared on the internet. When you start talking to plants and flowers, don't worry. You're just bored, not mentally ill. But if those plants and flowers start talking back to you, well, it's pretty much a sure thing. You might have some mental problems. My sudden movement startled Tiger Mom and my siblings, who were resting nearby. They glanced over and then lazily lay back down. It was just Huzzy. Then it was fine. After all, this guy's been weird since the day he was born. I stared at the hollyhock in front of me, lost in thought for a moment. I wanted to try talking to the hollyhock again, but then I had a second thought. Wouldn't that just prove I'm a lunatic, actually thinking I could chat with a flower? By this time, Tiger Mom, with her 3 little cubs, had been roaming around this part of Russia for 3 months, rarely staying in one place. Every day was either spent on the move, eating, or resting. 3 months passed. The 3 little tigers were also growing at an extremely fast rate. At 6 months old, my sister and brother both weighed around 45 to 50 kilograms. And as for me, with all my constant eating and exercising, my weight directly hit 70 kilograms. Running, jumping, pouncing, swatting, swimming, diving, climbing trees, I could do almost anything. I was just short of a pair of wings to fly. Tiger Mom hadn't caught any prey for several days. While the little cubs were sleeping, Tiger Mom went out hunting again. At 6 months old, the little tigers already had some ability to protect themselves. Tiger Mom no longer watched them so closely all the time. Sometimes she would even be gone for a whole day while hunting. But this time, she failed. I, who had been sleeping, suddenly shot my head up. Just now, in my sleep, I suddenly heard two animal roars in my dream. A bad feeling crept into my heart, and I abruptly woke from my dream. Could it be that Tiger Mom ran into danger while hunting? Although I wasn't sure yet, I didn't hesitate for long and immediately got up. I rushed in the direction of my premonition. Tiger Mom weighed around 200 kilograms. She had absolutely no natural enemies in the forest. If there was danger for Tiger Mom, it would obviously be a danger to me too. But since I sensed it, I couldn't convince myself not to go. Even though I'm just a tiger, I have to repay the kindness of being raised. I hadn't run for long when I heard several animal roars. One was Tiger Mom's, and there were other wild beasts. When I ran over to look, a huge brown bear was chasing Tiger Mom. Tiger Mom was bigger than the average female tiger. As a tigress queen, Tiger Mom would occasionally hunt brown bears. But this time was different. Chasing Tiger Mom along with the brown bear was a human with a hunting rifle. It seems Tiger Mom got too close to a human settlement. Back in China, it's better. Ordinary people usually don't mess with wild animals. The government will compensate villagers for their losses. But over here in Russia, many hunters living by the mountains have hunting rifles. If any wolves, tigers, or leopards show up, they'll actually shoot. At that moment, I quickly assessed the situation. Taking advantage of the fact that the human hadn't spotted me, I quietly slipped into the mountain forest. From the side of the woods, I stealthily approached him. Tiger Mom herself had the strength to go head-to-head with a brown bear. The biggest threat to her was actually this human. Just then, the brown bear caught up to Tiger Mom, and she had to stop and fight off its attack. And at this moment, the hunter who was chasing Tiger Mom along with the brown bear raised his rifle. Just as he was about to pull the trigger, I suddenly burst out from the woods. I accurately tackled the hunter to the ground. A gunshot rang out. As the hunter fell, he subconsciously pulled the trigger, but because he was on the ground, the bullet went astray and hit a tree trunk instead of Tiger Mom. Hearing the gunshot, Tiger Mom gave up her fight with the brown bear. Startled, she continued running into the mountain forest, with the brown bear still in pursuit. After tackling the hunter, I instinctively went to bite his neck. Right before I bit down, I couldn't help but hesitate. At that exact moment, the burly hunter fiercely flipped over, pinning me to the ground, and raised his rifle again to shoot. Pinned to the ground, I raked my hind legs across the hunter's stomach, leaving several long, bloody scratches. This time, I didn't hesitate. In one motion, I bit and tore open the hunter's main artery. I looked up in the direction of the human village. I thought I could hear footsteps. Someone must have been drawn by the sound of the gunshot. Or maybe there was more than one person chasing Tiger Mom. It's just that this hunter was a faster runner. So, I smashed the fallen rifle with one swipe of my paw. Then I turned and chased after Tiger Mom. She was completely focused on escaping. She had suffered some injuries in her fight with the brown bear, and now, out of worry, she hesitated to look back and was caught by the brown bear again. The bear and tiger were locked in combat. When I caught up and saw this, I lunged forward and bit down on the back of the brown bear's neck. Tiger Mom seized the opportunity to bite down hard on the brown bear's throat, trying to suffocate it. At that moment, I timed the bear's struggling and head turning, and with one claw, I gouged out one of its eyes. The brown bear roared in pain and struggled even more violently, but two incredibly strong tigers were on top of it. Even though the brown bear was also an apex predator in the forest, at this moment, it was completely unable to fight back. As an adult tiger, Tiger Mom only weighed 200 kilograms, but her strength was far greater than her body weight. She could easily drag away a wild bull weighing a ton. Then, I did the same thing all over again and blinded the brown bear's other eye. The force of the brown bear's struggling gradually weakened. Tiger Mom's attack had already caused it to slowly lose consciousness from suffocation. As a wild animal, Tiger Mom didn't possess great intelligence, having been hungry for days. Although she didn't intend to stop and eat because of the humans chasing her earlier, she did plan to drag this brown bear to a safe place to eat. Although Tiger Mom was very strong and dragging the bear away was no problem for her, it would still slow her down and would definitely leave a very obvious trail. If a few hunters with rifles were to show up later, we'd be barbecued. I looked back and could clearly hear, from 200 or 300 meters away, the faint sound of footsteps crushing dry twigs and fallen leaves. So, I quickly tore open the brown bear's belly, pulled out the bear's gallbladder and swallowed it. Then I growled at Tiger Mom, who was trying to drag the bear away. To shoo her off, Tiger Mom let out a roar. She swiped a paw at me, but it wasn't a fatal blow. She just wanted to teach me a lesson. Obviously, as a wild animal, she didn't understand my desperate intentions. To her, I hadn't grown up enough to challenge her yet. Seeing this, I didn't back down. Instead, I took a step forward and continued to growl at Tiger Mom. With a sense of urgency, I knew that Tiger Mom had always doted on me. At this point, I could only hope that Tiger Mom, because of this doting love, would give up her idea of eating first. Seeing that I wouldn't back down, Tiger Mom let out a low growl and turned to walk away. When tiger cubs grow to a certain age, they start eating meat. At that time, the mother tiger will no longer give the priority of eating first to her own cubs. This means the mother tiger is about to start teaching them how to hunt. But her beastly brain obviously didn't expect that her second son, having just learned to protect his food, would do it against her. His own mother, to snatch food. Her beastly brain couldn't figure this problem out, but her long-standing doting love for me still made her give in for now. Seeing Tiger Mom give way, I continued to growl lowly. For a meal, losing your life is obviously not worth it. By now, I could already hear footsteps getting closer and closer. Seeing me constantly driving Tiger Mom away, although she couldn't understand, she still gradually moved away. At this moment, I ran to the front. Just like how Tiger Mom would call and urge us, I let out a low roar, calling for Tiger Mom to follow me and leave. Tiger Mom should have understood my meaning by now and seemed a little hesitant. But in the next second, Tiger Mom also heard the sound of those human footsteps, and the sound of them talking, so she no longer hesitated, and fled with me. The two tigers ran wildly through the forest. I deliberately ran in the direction of Longguo. After running for over 10 kilometers, I stopped to let Tiger Mom rest here while I went back to find Tiger Sister and Tiger Brother. Before long, I found Tiger Sister and Tiger Brother in the forest. After discovering that Tiger Mom and I were gone, they hadn't slept either. They were searching everywhere in the woods. I walked over, greeted the two little tigers with a low sound, and nuzzled their heads, calling for them to come with me. After reuniting with Tiger Mom, the four tigers headed towards the Chongbai Mountains of Longguo. Wherever they passed, birds flew up in alarm, and even the insects on the ground dared not make a sound. Those startled birds were like alarm bells in the forest. Sensitive herbivores that saw this scene from afar fled immediately. After another day of travel, Tiger Mom hadn't eaten for 5 days. She had no milk at all to feed Tiger Sister and Tiger Brother. She herself was also starving. At night, I started to go out hunting. I wandered for a long while but didn't find any sign of prey. So I set my sights on the Russians' village and snuck in. I soon spotted a husky. It looked to be about 40 or 50 pounds, enough to fill Tiger Mom's stomach. I turned my head and observed the surroundings. Without hesitation, I charged straight for that husky. The husky was suddenly startled and had just enough time to let out a yelp before I snapped its spine. After returning to Tiger Mom's side, dropped the dog in front of her and gave a low growl. I nudged her head. There was confusion and surprise in Tiger Mom's eyes. Tigers don't perform righteous acts like crows feeding their parents. A vicious tiger will not eat its cubs, but they will kill their own parents. So when a tiger cub grows to be over 2 years old, the mother tiger will drive the young tiger out of her territory, or else one day, the cub will turn around and drive her away, taking over her territory. At this moment, it was obviously impossible for me to explain anything to a tiger. I just growled, urging Mother Tiger to eat, and then I ran back towards the village myself. Returning to the village again, I was a bit more cautious. I was afraid that some human might have heard me grabbing the dog earlier and become vigilant, setting up some kind of trap. Just then, I saw a brownish-yellow local hunting dog at the intersection, barking its head off at me. Although it barked fiercely, it was constantly backing away. Responding to its barks, a few other dogs came over. They barked at me from a distance. I looked at the first one that had barked at me. With a push from my hind legs, I pounced directly at that hunting dog. "So you're the one barking your damn head off at me, huh?" This hunting dog was quite large, around 50 to 60 pounds, with a ferocious expression. You could tell it was a good hunter at a glance. The moment I attacked, the other mongrels scattered and fled, but the one I had targeted had just turned to escape. Before its hind legs could even push off, I had already pounced and pinned it to the ground. I broke its spine with a single bite. Returning to where Mother Tiger, my sister, and brother were resting, I threw the hunting dog on the ground and started skinning and eating it. My little brother seemed extremely hungry. He came over, wanting to share the food with me. I let out an angry roar. I swatted my brother away with one paw, stood up, and shook my fur. My brother rolled on the ground a couple of times, then got up and let out a submissive whimper. He lay down in the distance, staring at me with longing eyes. I couldn't finish a 50 to 60 pound dog by myself. There were about 20 or so pounds left. Only after I had eaten my fill and walked away did my sister and brother come forward to eat. The next day, our family continued heading towards the dragon country. Having had a meal, the tigers were no longer in a rush to eat. The midday sun was very warm. Mother tiger was lying in the woods resting, while I lay by her belly, leisurely nursing. Noticing my sister and brother approaching, I lifted my head and roared at the two cubs. Honestly, what are you doing, still nursing at 6 months old? Don't you have any damn sense? Other tiger cubs are already weaned at this age. And besides, don't you think, with your current size, it gets really crowded when you squeeze over to nurse? Seeing me nursing so contentedly, Mother Tiger lowered her head and licked my head. 6 months ago, she could lick me from head to tail with a single swipe. But now, after a few licks, she had only managed to groom the fur on my head. Mother Tiger was very tolerant and generous. She had always doted on this second son of hers. After finishing my milk, I stood up and shook my glossy coat. I turned and went off to hunt. As I was taking a leisurely stroll through the forest with a rabbit in my mouth. Not far away, a pack of wild wolves, led by their king, was hunting a stag. After a fierce and thrilling chase, the wolf pack finally left the stag covered in wounds. At that moment, the enormous white wolf king chased after the frantically fleeing stag. With a flying leap, it bit down on the stag's neck. The other wolves swarmed in as well. Some bit the legs, others bit the belly. And one wolf, copying the hyenas, went straight for the stag's rectum and took a bite. I just happened to be taking a walk here. Color me impressed. This red deer looks like it weighs around 180 kilograms. That's 2.5 times my weight. Although I have mastered some tiger hunting techniques, it would still be a bit difficult to hunt such a massive red deer all by myself. As for right now, I'd say, if you're going to hunt in my backyard, shouldn't you pay some kind of tax? You little wolves. So, I let out a tiger's roar at the pack, trying to force the wolf pack to back off, but I suppose I underestimated their courage. In their eyes, I was still just a young cub. This little tiger who doesn't know its place actually dares to steal our prey. Following the alpha wolf's howl, the pack sprang into action. Several wolves pounced on me from different directions. Seeing this, I dropped the little rabbit from my mouth, and with a tiger's roar, I leapt towards their alpha. The alpha wolf itself was also very fierce. Instead of retreating, it advanced. It let out a howl, signaling the pack to swarm me, and at the same time, it also lunged to bite me. As I watched the white alpha wolf pounce, I couldn't help but get angry. A mere little wolf, not only did it not run when it saw me, it actually dared to attack me. So, I rose up on my hind legs, and swatted the lunging alpha wolf with my paw. It was instantly sent flying. It tumbled across the ground a few times. An adult tiger's paw can strike with the force of 1 ton. Although I'm not yet an adult, my daily training has had some effect. Even a casual swat from me can land with the force of 250 to 300 kilograms. Just then, the rest of the wolf pack rushed to my side. A few of the vicious ones had already bitten into me. Ignoring the sharp pain, I shook off the 2 wolves that had latched onto me, and lunged for their alpha again. The mournful howls of the wolves and the majestic roar of a tiger mixed together. Bright red blood quickly stained the white alpha's fur. My huge tiger paws pinned the white alpha down. My sharp canines tore 2 large holes in its throat. In no time, a fiercely struggling alpha wolf went still. The only thing that annoyed me was, as I bit clean through its neck, one of my canine teeth suddenly fell out. As a 6-month-old cub, I was starting to teeth. Such a high-intensity bite was obviously too much for my tooth to handle. Seeing their alpha was dead, although there were still more than 10 wolves left in the pack, they instantly lost the courage to face the king of the forest before them. Soon, they had all vanished. The battle was over. As I was cleaning up my spoils of war, I noticed the rabbit I'd been carrying was gone. What a cunning pack of wolves. They didn't even forget to steal a rabbit while running for their lives. Afterwards, I called my mom, sister, and brother over. Half a month later, Mom brought the whole family back to our territory in China's Chongbai Mountain. Seeing a tiger flash across the camera feed, Yu Fei, who was slacking off in the monitoring room, instantly widened his eyes. Holy crap, isn't that the philosopher? His size is almost that of a sub-adult tiger. He must be at least 100 kilograms, right? And he's only 6 months old. At that moment, I was roaming the forest, searching for my next meal. A tiger's life is just that ordinary, dull and boring. Just then, suddenly, a few tiger roars echoed through the forest, and they didn't seem to be coming from the same tiger. A little puzzled, I followed the sound and hid behind some trees. I started to watch and saw in the woods ahead 2 adult male tigers fighting. The one that was slightly larger looked a bit familiar. I thought for a moment, and then I remembered. Isn't this my Tiger King dad, Makabaka? Dad didn't look as magnificent as he did when I saw him before. He was a bit bigger than the other male tiger, but I guess he was still too young. His fighting experience wasn't as rich as his opponents. Right now, both tigers had their own advantages, and they were evenly matched. Another male tiger appearing here was a huge threat to us 3 cubs. He would kill the 3 of us so that our mom could go into heat again. That's how he would win the right to mate. Even for a cub over 6 months old, we have absolutely no strength to fight back against an adult male tiger. So if Dad lost this fight, I and the other 2 cubs would be in danger. Normally, a small tiger like me could never get involved in a fight between adult males. One of their swipes would be enough to seriously injure a cub like me. Besides, cubs don't actually recognize their fathers. So after they grow up, their first enemy when fighting for territory is their own dad. In most cases, a fight like this between father and son ends with the son's victory. Maybe tigers really don't recognize their own children. After watching the fight for a moment, I rushed out from the woods. I swiped my paw at the other strange male tiger's butt and opened my mouth to bite his heel. That strange male tiger obviously didn't expect a half-grown cub to suddenly pop out and attack him. A cub this small, he could usually kill without any effort. This made him furious. He stopped wrestling with my dad and turned to bite at annoying little me.